The amount of stupidity that this woman brings forth is just jaw-dropping. And I saw this clip, and the shit she makes up is just unfucking real. Like, she sounds like some sort of paranoid schizophrenic. And Gail, I don't know what to say, but there is a lot of fucked up shit in this clip. I'll play it for you, and I'll interrupt it at times to throw in comments.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for organising this, especially Melinda. Thank you, and Collective Shout. I won't forget this trip. I have to tell you, this has been an interesting trip to your country. You have a very well-oiled pro-porn lobby in this country that has managed to really get itself together. It's really got its act together and come after me in a way that I've not seen in many countries.
Gail, I just want to say, if you think they're coming after you, it's probably because you're a dumbass. That's why.
So you should know that. This is really interesting. So what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to have more time, and I haven't got people kind of knocking me on the head as I'm trying to talk. So what I'm going to be doing is giving a more extensive analysis of the society that we live in, and specifically the world that young women and young men now have to grow up in. Because for most of you, this is not the world that you grew up in.
Okay, Gail, every generation is different from the previous. My parents were both born in 1955. So, you know, their lifestyle was much different from mine. They didn't have cable TV. They didn't have internet. They didn't have a lot of what we have today. I mean, they didn't have cell phones or any of that. It was a much more primitive society than what went on, you know, today. They didn't have as many nice appliances. They didn't live as well of a life as we do today, with the internet and as good of easy access to certain information. Now let's go with my mom's side. Her dad was born in 1915. She said, yeah, and of course that's a lot different from being born in 1955. In 1955, I mean, hell, we had TV. We just didn't really have good TV. I mean, you know, what else was different? I mean, it's the 20s. It's a lot more primitive than today. I mean, look at what we have here today. We have the internet. I mean, he grew up in the 20s. It was not a very advanced society compared to what we have here today in 2011. An example, of course, automotive technology is something that I look at. It's constantly changing. They didn't have fuel injection, obviously, and you know the cars weren't nearly as nice as they are today. And you know, we can go back to his dad, who was 40 when he was born. So, you know, you go back another 40 years from 1915. That puts you back at 1875. My mom's dad's dad was, you know, he didn't have electricity probably when he grew up. He didn't have access to a supermarket like we do and can just get food year round. You know, you have to get your crops and, you know, do all that shit, preserve it. Of course, that was much more primitive than what, you know, they didn't even have cars. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have anything we have here today. We live in a much more advanced society, and it's due to technology. And technology is something, Gail, I think this is something you really fail to grasp, is that technology is a good thing, okay? Advancement of civilization is a good thing. Being able to do things that you couldn't do previously is a good thing. And yeah, there are probably some exceptions, but in general, it is a good thing. societies that can cure disease or have a treatment for smallpox are better off than those who don't. Societies that can produce good food are better off than those that can't. So it's just advancement in technology, which I think you want to clearly send us maybe back to the Dark Ages, but every society is an experiment. You say this is an experimental society, except like some of the unique tribal societies in Africa, which are just barely above cavemen, do not have any form of advanced culture. And I wouldn't want to live there. I'd rather live where I am now, in a nice house, you know, and not have to live in a shithole, basically. But that comment is just undoubtedly stupid. I mean, your parents probably said, "Oh, well, our kids are growing up in a new..." You're just an old bag, Gail. Every generation is completely different.
I mean, you know, we heard all this hideous, ridiculous talk about pornography being women in frilly dresses having sex. Okay, this is what was being talked about at the Sydney Writers' Festival, as if that's the reality of the porn industry. So what I'm actually going to do today is take you through the world of pornography, and especially the world of the pop culture that many of our kids grow up in. So the first thing to think about, which is different to most of you when I'm looking at your ages, is most of you in this room grew up in a print-based culture. You grew up when the dominant form of communication was the printed word. And as a society, we developed some immunization to the seduction of the eloquence of the printed word. You could engage with the truth or falsity of the printed word. There is no such immunization to the seduction of eloquence of the image. And this is the world we live in now, an image-based culture. And it is a completely different way of understanding messages. It is a completely different way of processing communication. And what's happening in many colleges, for any of you here teach in colleges or in high schools, and you can see often that the writing skills of our students are going down. This doesn't mean that they're stupid. What it means is we bring them into a print-based world of school and colleges, yet they are image-based babies. And there is a clash between the image that they constantly consume and the print that we require of them in a college-based setting or a school-based setting. So first, let's talk about how images work. And we often talk about stereotypes. The issue around stereotypes is not whether it's true or false. That's not the power of a stereotype. The power of a stereotype is whether it claims to tell the truth. And the more you see that image over and over again, the more it claims truth. So, for example, this is not true. This is a hideous representation of masculinity and an equally hideous image of femininity.
Okay, Gail. One thing about this image is obviously, as Jordan Owen talked about this exact same image in his anti-Gail Dines rant, but needless to say, that image is on the cover of a magazine because a lot of people find those people attractive, as and those are mainstream magazines, and they're not pornography. Like you're claiming that it is probably. I have no doubt it's not something that you don't approve of, but things that Gail Dines does not approve of do not all fall into the category of pornography. Pornography, as Jordan Owen says, it encompasses hideous people. But that image is on the cover because that guy is a guy has big muscles, and it's about muscle development. Okay, if you see a magazine about music, you'll see a guy playing the guitar maybe, or a famous musician on the cover. But the reason you see him on the cover is because it's about muscle development, and he has good-looking muscles. But you probably are failing to understand that is not pornography by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the woman is there because, you know, she looks sexy, and the guy's saying, hey, if I look like that guy, I could get her. That's what that's about, really, and you think it's pornographic or whatever. Women aren't generally going to look at a magazine about muscle development. I don't know too many women who have muscles bigger than men's that could be attractive, but they're probably attractive to some men. I don't know.
It doesn't matter that neither one exist. Because when I'm in my classes and I'm showing students this kind of image, and I'm saying, you know, she doesn't exist, she's airbrushed, there's nothing real about her, and how many of you are still comparing yourselves to her? And every hand goes up. And am I right with all the women in the room? Okay? And I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, they don't exist. It doesn't matter. You're looking at that image and you're thinking, I'm a fat cow and I need to go on a diet.
Okay, Gail, you bring up the fat porn thing, but the thing is, you know, there is plenty of fat porn on the internet. You talk about fat people, there is so much fat porn on the internet, and that is a mainstream magazine. It is so easy to find fat porn. There are women over 500 pounds in the porn industry. So to say that there is any kind of narrow-mindedness with respect to body type in the porn industry, if you think that, Gail, you have no right to claim to be an expert on pornography.